Hello, good evening. Sammy here, part of the Bloomz Art House Collective. And the Artist of the Month for December is, as you already know, the lovely Mac McGregor. And during Mac's month, she's going to be doing a number of creativity interviews with other artists. But following on from my initial interview with Mac last week, we're going to focus more on her creativity today. So I see you there, Mac. Hey, Mac, how are you? I'm just going to ask you to join. Okay. You should pop up shortly, I hope. There she is.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you, Mac?
Good. I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm good, thank you too. Are you well rested after Saturday?
Not completely, but I'm here.
Do you want to just give everyone a quick update on what happened on Saturday?
Well, Saturday was the performances of Don't Stop Me Now, which is the Flames showpiece that we hope will eventually tour Scotland. So we had two performances then. It was quite a hectic day because we had the technical rehearsals, followed by a dress rehearsal, and about 5 to 10 minutes before the actual performance. So it was kind of like 10 o'clock in the morning till 10 to 4, we were working.
Oh my goodness, quite full on.
Yeah, absolutely full on. So.
But both performances went well?
They went really well. We were surprised how many people actually came because although the strike was off, a lot of trains weren't running because they were in the wrong place.
Yeah.
But it was pretty packed. There was, hardly any seats left, which was amazing.
Brilliant. Excellent. Steve, good evening. Steve's on and he says hi to us both.
Hi, Steve.
Okay, so we're going to focus on your creativity and how you go about creating your artwork. So I've got some questions and I've grouped them into 9 different groups. So every time I glance down, please don't think I'm being rude. I'm just going to be ticking off to make sure I've got it covered. Okay, so first of all, Mac, what are you working on at the moment?
Oh.
Sorry, can you hear that?
Yes.
I thought I turned it off.
I'm just going to make sure that I've got my...
No, it's my phone. I thought I just turned it off. Oh no, there we go. That's it. Okay, hopefully they won't call back. Okay, so what are you working on at the moment, Mac, and what sparked the idea?
I'm actually working on a piece that I did during lockdown. I've come back to and I've decided I'm actually happy with it. I'm going to...
Sorry, Mac, I can't hear you. Your volume's gone down.
Oh, let me just raise that up a bit. Is that a bit better?
No, it's not as loud as before.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm not covering that, am I? Is that any better?
How's that for you, Steve? Can you hear Mac okay? Oh, you sound fine to Steve, so we'll carry on.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one of the pieces that I will be working on because sometimes I leave things for a while and come back to them. So it's a triangular piece again, and I've used little small, about this size, plastic containers that have a bottom and a lid, transparent plastic. And within it, I've put, if I remember correctly, a piece of gum. And underneath, I've written what I was eating before I ate the gum. So it's a kind of a chronological sort of history of what I've been eating and the traces left in the gum.
Right.
And these are placed in a triangle. And I need to glue it, so I've got the glue. And I kind of worked out how to do that without shifting the shape. And I was given a title, but it's gone out of my head at the moment. Just as I'm live, you know.
That's
Obviously,
okay. So the idea behind that piece, you, like you said, you're doing chronological order of your meals and your intake and everything, but was that what was the actual idea behind it? Was to show, I don't know, your nutritional intake of the day, or how you feed your body, mind, and spirit, sort of thing?
I think it was during lockdown, and I think it was very much about just recording just ordinary things that we do and just making a document of that, and that's
Yeah,
just part of it. And whether our nutrition was good during that time or not during that time. And a lot of people put on a lot of weight during that time. I put on a couple of pounds, but have since lost it, thank goodness. Yes, yeah, so it just kind of like a documentation, a little snip of that time.
so within that piece of work, when you're doing your preparation for that, were you trying to consciously think about what you were eating, or were you just noting it down after you had eaten? Or were you trying to say like, oh, this is Mac on a real healthy kick day, and this is me when all I'm doing is reaching for the cookies?
No, it was varied actually. I ate well, but I also had lots of treats. Um, no, it was a kind of like, it was intuitive. This is what I need to do now. And so I follow it. Now, whether when I go back to the triangle, whether things will start to come back to me of the things I was thinking about at the time, but at the moment, that has been lost. But these questions about creativity are about the things that don't necessarily work a-okay, and I can't give you a beautiful spiel about, you know, what it's about, etc. This is where I'm at.
Yeah. But then this is where, as creatives and as artists, that's where we draw upon to um, either say, like, this is actually working well, so I may repeat it again, or
Mm.
this isn't working, but now I need to look at why. Why hasn't this worked out for me? Because I was so sure when I was writing that essay or that those notes that it was going to balance out. So I think that's where you can just sit with that piece and let it rest, isn't it?
Absolutely, but I wasn't sure why I was doing it 100%. I don't really know about it, but that's part of my process. It's trusting that
Mm.
what I'm doing will there's meaning in it. I just need to explore and find out. Sometimes that is about going within, sometimes that is finding out information from the outside, but it's trusting that process. It's saying this is what
Mm.
I need to do in doing it, even although you might not quite know why you're doing it.
Yeah. Okay. So within your process, and I know I've seen a number of pieces of your art where you've had different thoughts behind it. Has the process though remained constant, or do you change the process for each piece that you're creating?
The process changes. Sometimes I get an image which is a complete piece, and sometimes I'm just curious and I play about and I went, oh, I like this, and it develops. But it's very much intuitive in what I'm interested in and like. It's not always specific. Sometimes I am. Like the chakra ball, I knew when I started the chakra ball, well, not initially, but when I decided it was going to be a chakra ball, it was going to contain all the main chakras within the body. And I wanted to have crystals in there. Um, And that is developing slowly. And it's a piece where there's many, many layers that are only supported by chewed gum. So that takes time for it to be solid and structurally sound to place more layers on top. So it takes quite a bit of time to make. What will happen when I've finished the piece, I'm not sure. Some of the ideas that have come up have been including crushed crystals starting from reds and going into violets. Some are just using one color, some are not applying anything. So I'll just see what happens when it actually is made and see what happens. I do not know. Very often I do not know, and I don't think many artists admit that. I don't know.
Do you have a favourite piece of artwork of your own, or do they all hold a place in your heart?
They all hold a place in my heart, but I think my favourite is Gratitude.
Mm. And can you just give us a little bit of the story behind that piece? It's one of the pieces I've already posted on the Bloomz page, but it's a beautiful cup, isn't it?
It is. I've got it here actually. I'll show you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the inside. And this is another piece that I'm going to finish. I'm going to put gold leaf on the inside here. So this piece is made with chewed gum, and it has, with each piece of chewed gum, has got a piece of my hair in it. And I made this cup shape that you can hold in your hand, you could hold in your hand. And from a hairbrush that I've gathered my hair in, I've used that hair to envelop the piece. And it is a celebration, it's gratitude for being able to chew now and create. And it's just holding that so sacred and so dear in this simple way. And like, when I was bedbound, I was described as a vegetable. That is why the gold is going to be hidden, because you might not see it on the surface. So it's really dear to my heart, this piece, Gratitude.
And I think you've made it into a cup. And when we think of a cup, you think of a cup of celebration. In lots of different cultures, a cup is used to show honor to others. You'll pass the cup to the head of the household, or to the head of the tribe, etc. And so that's quite a telling part, especially when you're saying about gratitude and of the story behind it. It's actually a brilliant story that links in with so many different cultures.
Absolutely. And it's when the two of them together, it's almost like a chalice, like Holy Communion or sacred wine or whatever. So yes, I feel that this chewed gum process is really sacred, because it just represents just ability to express ourselves, which is so important, because we're not individual unless we can.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not exactly true, but a lot of individuality is about expressing yourself in a different way.
Yeah, precisely. And you've already said about your thoughts and feelings that arose from creating that piece. And I think, when people see your artwork and are able to read the artist's statement by the side of it, they'll get a lot more from that piece, as well as adding their own story to what they've read.
Absolutely. I mean, this is my interpretation of the piece, but it's up to you to find what that represents to you.
Yeah. What do you do when you're undecided about what you're going to create next? How do you get the inspiration, the artwork flow, the ideas start to gather? How do you get yourself in that place ready to have that?
Relax and do something I like other than art.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pop back into the studio, and if I'm not able to create something with half an hour, I do something else. But usually, just being in the studio and kind of fiddling about and maybe experimenting, then I'll go, ah, yes, I want to do something like this. And it's so simple. It's just giving me a chance to go away, do other things, and come back when I'm ready. Because sometimes the process, and quite often the process of creativity, is very much unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just waiting for the right time to arrive. And sometimes I get, oh, I feel I want to work on this piece before I even got to the studio. It just varies. It varies so much. I guess for me. It's all about trust.
Do you sometimes, when you're away from your studio, do you sometimes sit and draw or write, or you might be reading something and something will click in your mind and think, yeah, that's that's it. That's the word. That's the statement. That's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Or quite often that I'll be reading something and exploring something, or thinking about something, and when I make a piece, it's actually about what I've been reading and exploring. But it's so varied, and basically I'm playing. Um, but it's true. I'm basically playing, and and just trusting that
Yeah. It
something will work.
doesn't feel sometimes that we're actually going to work, does it? And I
No,
feel, oh, I'll come in and my husband will say, oh, I've had such a hard day at work. And I'll think, well, yeah, I've had a hard day, but I really loved it. And I might have been spent the day like playing
mm,
with like plasticine or something.
it's part of the process because play is so underestimated. I mean, the adult word for play is experimentation, which is so crucial to finding new ways to do things. And it's allowing ourselves to take the risk of doing stuff that might not work.
Yeah.
You know,
What do you do with any of your pieces that are unfinished? Have you ever left any just totally unfinished?
yeah, sometimes I will leave things for years or months, and I'll go back to it and go, ah, actually, oh yeah, I could. And I start seeing images of what things I could do with it. And sometimes they just need to lie. They just need to lie. But as my ex-husband used to say, um, you just find it so easy. And I do. I find it very easy. It's not hard to make work. Um, but somehow it just comes together.
Mm.
Um, and that's how I've been working since my BA and my master's. So something works.
Absolutely. I find that if you're having joy in what you're creating in your work, then there shouldn't be a battle, should there?
No,
So
no,
when I read about these artists that are in absolute pain and agony when they're painting and every brush stroke is like pulling energy from their body, I sort of think, oh, I don't feel like that. I feel really good.
well, this time that I've done lots of, I studied art therapy as well, and I've done lots of art therapeutic drawings where, yeah, I do feel all the emotions in my body and I paint or draw or whatever. Um, yes, I have done that, and that's just one way of working, and it's very cathartic, and it helps you to understand yourself more, I think.
I'm yet to feel that. I feel a lot of emotion and expression when I'm painting, but it's just like in some of the articles that I read, and I sort of think, oh my goodness, you need to find joy in your work because if it's so painful, Do you know, it's not about the therapy side of it. It's about the fact that they're creating this piece of work. But if every piece of work is going to give you so much pain, where do you get your joy?
Well, the thing is, it might be important for the artist, and many artists do that, and it gives permission to the viewer to be able to feel those feelings. So there is validation in that. I
Yeah.
did a where there was a lot of chaos in my life, and I did this sort of therapeutic drawing, um, and I found this stillness within all the chaos, and other people saw that in the drawing when I exhibited it. And that's just one example of how you can use your emotions and somehow help you to recognize that you are finding the stillness despite everything being chaotic. I don't know if that explains it.
Yeah. So have you ever abandoned a piece completely? Have you ever thought, no, you're going,
Out, yes. I
and you
have.
don't feel any guilt about that?
No,
No, good.
not when I did, not when I've decided. No.
Yeah. So, I mean, some people do though, don't they? They feel that they have to keep every piece as a just in case. And I sort of think if you don't feel that piece as the artist, no one else is going to feel it.
Well, the thing is about that is then, unless you're absolutely certain, I do it. But there's pieces I go, oh, I don't know, and I'll leave them. And I say sometimes I go back to them, and then I see.
Yeah,
Um, Usually, I need to do it twice, quite often with those unsure things before I throw it out.
yeah.
Unless I definitely know if it's unsure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, leaving it to rest, leaving it to sit, leaving it to um marinate, so to speak. That is good. But I'm just sort of saying people that just keep every piece, and you think, but you're never going to show that. You're not happy with it. Why keep it?
Well, they have. I think they have their own reasons for doing that, because sometimes things. I can't remember his name. There's this artist that doesn't throw away anything, and he's a sculptor. He's a sculptor or a painter. Anyway, I can't remember. And he has warehouses full of stuff that he's collected, and but he will rummage things and take things and put them together with something else, and it's like his total art shops. All the materials that he could possibly use, are within these warehouses that he's packed full of all this stuff. Just think that's quite amazing. I think we have all our own way of working, and each one is valid.
Over the years, has your process um, changed, or do you have different processes in place ready to bring forth the different pieces?
Yeah, I mean, when I worked initially, when I was at art school, um, I sometimes saw, I still do, sometimes saw complete pieces, and all I knew was I needed to do them. Like one of the first pieces that I did that I saw it complete was in the exhibition area at Gloucestershire College of Art and Design. There's this massive space, this massive hallway, which was maybe 3 to 4 stories high. I'm just thinking of height. And a very large space that I put 3 canvases draped, not used as paint, but sculptural, 3 sawdust on the floor, and 3 red rectangular pieces covered in fabric. And that was one of the pieces that I made, and some cord. That was one of the pieces that actually came ready made, because I just felt I needed to do something big. Um, has my process changed? Yes, because when I was doing the art, my intuition and my analytical thinking would just go intuition, analyze, intuition, analyze. So I'd be working out what it was about as in the process has, as working out. But the more and more that I've matured, and developed my work, and particularly since I've been exploring my spiritual side and using more of my intuitive skills, it's about trust.
Mm.
It's having whole gaps and not knowing what I'm doing, and that's okay. And I actually am okay with it, which I'm surprised about. But I still have that when I'm working, I go through and kind of go, so where is this going and what this could be about? But not always. Sometimes it's just the process and I'm drawn to a certain area and I just trust that.
Mm. And
That
so when you when was the point actually that you said to yourself about working intuitively and trusting that process? Can you remember in your timeline of your art creation when that was, and did you see a significant shift in how the work that was created after that point?
I think the big shift happened when I was bedbound and I couldn't speak and I was creating installations in my head. And I knew that those installations were very much looking at yourself because they involved a lot of myth and about death, actually, because prior to that, I'd been working in a project about death and dying. And these were rather large installations that occupied several different rooms. They would need to take a large gallery for them to be shown. And I've written those down, I've drawn those down and written those down, and they haven't been realised yet. I'll say that. But when I moved to Sandegate after I was in hospital and started to regain a little bit of energy, I was still very much restricted. I think I was doing half an hour drawing a day in A6, no, A5 sheet of paper, because that's all I could cope with. So things started to be slowed down rather much, slowed down a lot. So my process changed. And it was exploring, experimenting. I was playing with gum and I was playing with paper plates and inks and setting them and changing and powder paint. I was doing all sorts of things, playing with them, but very, very slowly over a period of time. And gradually, my process changed. That link between my analytical self and my intuitive self stretched.
Mm. Wow. I think it's lovely to hear other artists and how they've worked, and but also when specific changes happen and you can actually put it on that timeline and you can see a change in your work in the process. So thank you so much for sharing that.
That's okay.
What continues to inspire you?
I like to be surprised. What
So I
continues
didn't
to be?
catch that, Matt. No, I can't hear you, Matt. Can you still hear me? No, I've lost. I think I'm losing connection here, everyone. I'm so sorry. We'll wait a moment to see if Matt comes back.
Okay. I no, it's. I think you froze.
I think I keep dropping in and out of connection. I think it's me, Matt.
Yeah, I think you froze. I think you
Oh,
froze.
I can hear you now.
What was your question? Oh yeah. Oh yes, you asked me my inspiration. I like to be surprised, and I like look. I've always liked either using unusual spaces or unusual materials And so you, you get stuff from home, get stuff from you get from the shopping, and you get fruit trays, things like that, or tubs of things, and I'll go, oh, I really like the shape of that. Oh, I'll put that to the side. Don't know what I'm going to use it for, but I'm really, it speaks to me. And then gradually, I'll go through all these boxes with all this stuff and go, oh, I wonder what I can create with this. And those small things inspire me. And I love to be surprised, so I go to crazy buzz cut double frills performances which show a whole myriad of crazy stuff, which I love because I'm so surprised and I like to be surprised.
What's the most difficult part about creating a new piece for you?
The most difficult part is if I'm having a low mood day and I lose confidence, unsure. Those are my low moments. And I just don't create that day. I do a self-care day when that happens, and then go back.
I think that's very important, isn't it? To give yourself and acknowledge that you need to have that day off, that morning off, that afternoon off, and acknowledge that it's not a failing in any way. It's just today's not the day.
No.
Yeah.
It's not a good day today.
What has been the most favourite piece you've made and why?
The most favourite piece? Well, it's either this gratitude piece or it's a life drawing that I did. And I drew two. Sorry, I don't always do one, do I? There was two life drawing pieces that I did. And one that I did with a person was rolling the arm and they were spinning the arm round and we were to capture it, and I managed to, because I was watching it and getting into the flow, and I managed to capture the shape of the arm and the fingers really, really well, and I was really proud because that was just like seconds of drawing. So I really like that piece. And another one that I did of an arm, I've got a thing about arms, that was a person who had quite a muscular arm, and I managed to capture all the nuances of where the muscles went with lines, and I really liked that, because it's really looking at the detail.
What was your first piece of art that you ever created?
Was the piece was the drawing that I did in primary school. It was a figure.
And can you remember how that made you feel once you'd completed it?
Well, I was surprised. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm good at drawing. I never knew this was a possibility. Because my parents had one piece of art which wasn't very stimulating, and like my parents didn't have any books apart from comic books, which I wasn't particularly interested in. So yeah, or a newspaper. I think my dad was dyslexic, so that's why there weren't any books in the house. So this was all new to me, and it kind of opened up my life to magic.
When did you decide that you were going to become an artist?
It was not long after that, actually, because during the summer because quite late on in primary school, and I had a summer job, so it was late on, and I bought some sketchbooks and pencils, and I just knew this is what I want to do. I'm an artist. I just felt at home.
And you never let go of that dream?
Nope.
Well, actually, I suppose it was never a dream. You always had it as reality. Because you went to art school, you went and did your masters and everything. So it was always in your reality.
Absolutely. There was a time, though, that I became depressed, and I won't go into the reasons why I became depressed. I was depressed for a year, and I remember I couldn't do my artwork because even although I'm doing things and it's very intuitive, it does connect to all of me, you know, not just the surface. And I remember trying to do a drawing, and I could hardly make any marks in the papers because I was too emotional, and I had to leave it for a time. And I questioned then whether I was an artist or not. And I realized after some self analysis that you don't actually need to be creating anything to be an artist. It's just who you are.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to tell our viewers about you, about your artwork, about what else we're going to find this month on the Bloomz? Because obviously I'm talking to you about your creativity today, but we've got other things coming up in the month.
We are. Just on my creativity, even although it is valuable, and too many people think that anything you do needs to be hard. It doesn't. I would say that. So I've got my timetable here. So I have just signed up for recently a cardomancer's course, which is creating a card deck, and I'm at the very, very beginning of it. So I'll be doing snippets from that and what you need to, and what I'm doing in creating a card deck. What else am I doing? I'm doing lots of interviews with other Bloomz artists about the creative process. I'm also going to be doing some gum art pieces, and I'll be finishing off hopefully the triangular piece with the pieces of chewed gum. But I'm also wanting to do some experimentation, and I haven't decided what my third piece will be. Yes, so that will be what I'm doing. Have I missed anything out, Sammy?
No, we've got your Akashic Records.
Oh yes, my
at the end of the month.
I have, yes. I'll be posting as well about creative, because the subject this month is going to be creativity, and how that actually happens from the initial idea to playing around, and the incubation time when things are not uncertain, and that time for me is stretched, and it's trusting that. And that can be applied to anything. And I think a good example of being creative, and for those who are not artists, is decorating a room where you have it as it is, and you start taking everything out and moving everything, and it's chaotic. And you decide on a particular colour or curtains or whatever, but you never know if it's going to work out or not until it's actually. And there's always that certain risk and certain uncertainty. And that's just the same as making any piece of work and creative.
Brilliant. Well, Mac, thank you so much for sharing more about your creativity this afternoon. I look forward to seeing everything that you've got in store for us on the Bloomz page. The future creativity interviews are going to be live on our Facebook Bloomz page, but then they will be transferred to the Instagram page. But if you want to catch Mac live and ask her any questions, can they ask questions as they're going along or at the end?
To be honest, it's going to be the first time I've done this, so I will do my best to answer questions, because I want to live stream from Zoom. So yes, I'll do my best to answer questions, although I'm not very good at doing two things at once. So we shall see. If they're not answered,
or they can, they can put their questions in the comments, and after it's uploaded, after you've gone live, then you can come back and answer the questions.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, Mac, thank you so much for this afternoon, and I look forward to seeing your next creativity interviews, and also what you've got for the month on the Bloomz.
Okie dokie.
Okay, I will see you later.
Okay, bye.
Okay, so that was our lovely Mac, and she is actually doing, I think, a creativity interview tomorrow on the Bloomz Facebook page. So you'll have to catch that. I will put up some notices to make sure it is tomorrow. But also, yeah, catch her posts and her interviews and just enjoy the rest of Mac on the month. So I will see you later, and I will be speaking to Mac again at the end of the month just to catch up with her and how things went. Okay then, take care. Bye.